Welcome to Forging Resilience, exploring for a different perspective on strength and leadership. Join me as we discuss experiences and stories with guests to help gain fresh insights around challenge, success, and leadership. Today on Forging Resilience, I'm joined by Gina Atkinson, who's a former member of the UK Armed Forces and is now running a security company, ARC24. She's also a dedicated fundraiser, ambassador, endurance athlete, raising awareness for mental health campaigns. She fundraises for charities, and we look forward to diving into more of that. Gina, welcome to the show.
Hi, finally got here.
Yeah, it's taken us a while between illness, Christmas, and a couple of other little technical things. So yeah, I appreciate your patience, Gina. It's good to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be on.
Gina, give us a bit of a snippet of your backstory and a bit about your childhood, your military career, what's relevant, and what leads us to be sat here having this conversation today.
Yeah, so I had a pretty normal upbringing. You know, nothing major went on really. I was just really into sports and fitness, and got into the Army Cadets, and from there I just realised that I had this affinity for the outdoors and for everything military and green really. And then didn't do so well on my A-levels, so didn't quite get in as to study law, and decided to join the Army, the Royal Signals, as a communications engineer, they call it now. And then from there I was just really lucky with a fantastic career. And my first sort of 5 years of service, I went to like 35 different countries and was cutting edge of comms, and was in any conflict or peacekeeping mission that sort of came up within those first 5 years of service before I moved on to different things. So yeah, it was pretty good. I got out after sort of 11, 12 years, and just went into CP, went over to America, did some really geeky stuff over there, and yeah, had a pretty good life really. Seeing lots of different things that you join the military to do, I guess.
Yeah, can I ask you what year you joined, Gina, more or less?
I joined in '96.
Okay, so yeah, a full-on career that's probably spanned quite a few interesting trips, both in operations and exercise.
It was very quiet when I joined up, apart from really Bosnia, and then the world seemed to sort of go a bit crazy after that period of quietness we had in the 80s.
What was it that really drew you to the armed forces, apart from the loving to be outside and adventure and that? Was there anything else that particularly drew you?
The cadets for me felt like a family. It felt like I belonged, really. So I also just loved everything that I loved, even the stuff like drill and fieldcraft, getting dirty and jumping around, and it was probably that belonging that I'd found something where people are similar to me with similar mindsets and goals. So it was probably that from a really early age, and then the stuff they did, how they did, adventure training, which I loved, and I was a skier as well, so I was in the English ski team, so the adventure training side of it as well. So I got more opportunity with it. So it was opportunity and challenge really, and adventure that the military offered, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And how was your transition leaving the uniform after so long and such an interesting and varied career? How was that?
Yeah, it was tough, to be honest, because I left a sort of incredible unit that was doing miraculous things, and I was at the top of my game, and I got out thinking, everybody knows what the military do. They'll know what a sergeant was, and they'll know what operations were and what I did for this medal, and they'll give me that sort of respect. But in the late 2000s, people didn't really know. You know, your CVs didn't translate across. So I'd just done my, what was then like a 5-week post-protection course to get my, what had just come in, my SIA license, so I could do bodyguarding in layman's terms. And I just couldn't get a job. I ended up going back to the military, going to the as the TA, the reservists, which gave me a little bit of a lifeline, and I felt safe in there. And I then nearly took a job standing on a car park collecting tickets for people to park for the day on like £3 an hour or whatever the minimum wage was then. So it was pretty soul destroying and sort of like, what the hell have I done? So it wasn't sort of an easy transition. I thought, get out, everybody'd want me. I'd end up with some high flying job, and no one really cared that I was ex-military and what I'd done. So it was quite a sharp wake up, really.
Yeah, but so what sort of things did you do then, apart from obviously going to the TA and using that network there? What other things did you do to help bridge that gap for yourself personally then?
It was just getting in with different companies and stuff, and then literally I was about to start that job on the car park down in deepest, darkest sort of Birkenhead, and you know. And I got a phone call to come to London for an interview, and I went for the interview and was successful, and ended up telling the guy I wasn't going to start working on his car park. He was furious at the time, saying, "You'll never work in Liverpool ever again." I was like, "Fine, I don't want to." And then I was off straight away to Chicago, and I'm working in America for a while, doing like unbelievable stuff, you know, living in Beverly Park, which is part of Beverly Hills, but like if you like the posh part, and you know, my walk-in wardrobe in that house was bigger than my house is now. It was absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, it was such you know, stark differences from the free worlds I'd lived in, and then the next thing I was like basically in Hollywood, doing crazy stuff.
Having been in the military myself and having done a little bit of the work like you have, often people mistake it as always glamorous and quite interesting. And I'm curious for you though to highlight a couple of things that people might not know about that line of work that aren't quite as glamorous, despite the locations or the people that you're working with. Is there anything that sticks out to you? In terms of the unseen or the unglamorous side that you can mention?
Well, once you get out with
or working in close protection or bodyguarding
I think it's
high value
because
clients.
You definitely as you know, we're being from the military, we used to service, and it's definitely sort of that service industry, but kind of it seems all sexy and glamorous. But you don't want to be pulling, you know, like a Kevin Costner and Bodyguard. You know, that is your worst day. You want to keep everything nice and quiet and controlled, and boring is what you want it to be. You don't want it to be, you know, crazy. You want it nice and boring and chilled, because that's a good day, really, for protecting your clients. But your clients don't often want that, because they want sometimes the attention depending on what you're doing. So you'll advise them to not do whatever they decide to do, and then they'll do it, and you have to deal with the consequences because they want to be seen.
It's a balance, isn't it? It's about managing their expectations and their safety as well. I think for me, the two things that jump out at me from the small amount of time I did doing that sort of work is, first of all, the waiting around. Standing, and my back did not like that at all. And secondly, I think the biggest is that you're always on somebody else's timetable.
You'd always wait. So when I've done the odd job with some foreign royalty, you're waiting on their every command. So you'll be sat up in your suit, if that dictates, from 8 a.m, waiting for them to go somewhere. but they won't go anywhere. You'll get your pajamas on thinking they're not going anywhere, and the next thing, there's a knock at the door, 5 minutes, I'm going out, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and you're like, what the hell? So yeah, you're definitely a servant, if you like, from that point of view, and you have to get used to filling your time but being ready to move at any point. So yeah.
What led you to become so active in terms of fundraising and helping raise the awareness for mental health charities, Gina?
Yeah, so when I first got out the military, I think before as well, I've always done odd charity events, and whenever I've done like an ultra marathon or a run or something, if it's been something big, I've put a fundraising page up or done it for the charity. But the main catalyst was in 2019. My brother was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer, and I was diagnosed with PTSD around the same time. And then the tidal wave of COVID was coming towards us, and everything that was horrendous was somehow made worse by that situation. And it tragically sort of, my coping method was always fitness and doing stuff, and tragically after 3 months, I wouldn't even say it was a battle, because it just ripped through his body. In 3-4 months, my brother was dead, and I was sort of left thinking, what am I going to do with this grief? And what I did with it is try to make it into something good. So I set out on a challenge, and after a year of that challenge, I'd raised £10,000 for a local cancer charity, and they set up an art foundation in his name to help cancer patients. And during that time, I'd been helped from military charities with my PTSD and trying to cope with the grief, really. And I wanted to pay it back. So I thought, I can't keep doing challenges. So then I put together a poetry book by the military, about the military, and put that out for charity. And kind of from there, it's been a catalyst, and I've got to keep active. That's how I am. So why not keep active by raising funds for these charities that I've become affiliated with, become about ambassador for, and that then led me to an incredible total of, within a couple of years, of raising £300,000 for veterans charities. Wow. And that message, I just think, I just keep needing to get out that, your donations or talking about the charities can help people, even if it's someone going, I didn't realise that service was available, and they can reach out. And the mental health side of it as well is because I did suffer from poor mental health, and was on in that absolute pit of despair, and needed to be dragged out, and my fitness and stuff dragged me out by that, by having something, an aim to do, and something to achieve. And since then, I've met people who've suffered from poor mental health, been on the brink of suicide, and it's through talking about it that it helps other people to think that they're not alone. And hopefully, if one conversation between myself and you, or another podcast or a post on social media, can make people think I'm not alone, then that's totally worth all of the miles that I'm running or walking or hiking or talking to different people. So I think that's where it comes from.
How, if I can ask, how was PTSD showing up for you personally then, when you, as you say, in your pit of despair? What would that look like if you were to paint us a picture of that?
It was just feeling like incredibly sad with everything. Like nothing, you can be smiling at something because you go out with friends and family, but deep down you're so incredibly unhappy. You don't know how you're ever gonna sort of carry on with life properly. You put a face on it to make other people think that you're fine, but you're not, sort of deep down inside, and it is the correct word to use, despair. I think people sometimes use it out of context, but you just don't know how you're gonna carry on, I guess. And you do think you're alone. You do think that nobody's ever felt this feeling, no matter how many people are banging the drum saying they have. At that point, you don't think that anything can help you, and I think it's just trying to yourself step out of that with help, and move forward from it, really.
Well, what's some of the things that you do then, or other people might be able to do? I mean, to help manage that.
Yeah,
in day-to-day life.
Yeah, for me, for me, my two sort of things, my two elixirs of life are definitely nature, and fitness. So combining that, like, even if you feel, oh God, I've had enough for today, you're not depressed, but I need to refresh my head. Just getting outside and walking down the street, because you're going to see green, and green's like such a calming influence on everybody. It's actually apparently the only colour that the eye doesn't get tired from, is what I heard from someone, so maybe that's a reason. So I'll get up, and I'm quite lucky to be near, pointing that way because it's down there, near what's called Bergner Park, it was actually the first park in the world to be made. And it's like the same, sort of similar to Central Park, because they modelled that on us, and just getting in there and walking around will, even if you don't want to, will lift your mood. You'll feel slightly better. If you're in a really, really bad place, you will feel slightly better, and it helps you to reset. So I think the main thing for me is nature and getting out and moving. I'm a lot better outside than going to the gym, although the gym helps me as well once I get there, because you have to force yourself to get there sometimes. So yeah, it's definitely those two things that have helped, and then connection with others. So I'm a social being. I'm definitely I'll go into a pub and I'll be talking to someone with a dog, and friends and family will be like, God, what are you talking about now? But it's like, it's all about connection. You never know how that person, you'll brighten their day, or they'll brighten your day. It's for me, it's definitely about that, and that's what this year I'm trying to highlight with some of my challenges. Is last year I focused on how loneliness is a killer and terrible for mental health, and by doing a challenge across Scotland on my own. And this year I'm trying to focus on connection and bringing people into my challenges to show that that's how we can dig ourselves out, as well as being in nature and fitness.
Yeah, I love that, and for me personally as well. Then I think that both those things, that being outdoors in nature is a really strong has a really strong grounding effect on me as well. And if I can combine that with my bike, even better. But sometimes it's just a walk, and just like you said, I think if I was going to pick one thing for me, it would be connection. And I think the interesting thing there is, I'd caveat that with connection to myself. So it's to start to understand what I'm going through or experiencing or just feeling. There's no problem. It's just knowing what's going on, having an understanding, so that I can connect to others as well. Like you were saying, being around other people and being able to, ask them a question or ask them something about their dog, which, like you say, you never know the effects that might have them. So connection to myself before connection to others. You've talked about a couple of different challenges, Gina. What your latest one? I know you're trying to rack up 5,200 miles, or is it kilometers?
No, it's miles.
Miles. Ooh.
Kilometers is touching 9,000, I think. Maybe I should start saying it's kilometers.
Why 5,200?
So it just fits nicely, the numbers, in one respect. So 100 miles a week is 52 miles, 52,000 miles in the year. And also, my brother died, so it'll be 5 years next year, because that's when COVID was all sort of starting. So he was 52 when he died. So it also fits with the numbers, because it's slightly, as a memorial to him, because he, unfortunately, I'd rather have him here than be where I am now. But he was a catalyst for all this fundraising and good that's come from it, I guess.
Yeah, nice touch. I knew there'd be a reason, so I'm glad we got to that.
Yeah.
And so how are you doing those 100 miles a week, more or less?
Yeah, so I've always sort of done multi-day challenges to try and fit it around life. So I can't afford to go off all the time and run around Britain for a year and stuff like that. So it's fitting sort of everyday challenges around life and work. So I'm trying to do most of them sort of hiking or walking or running, but my knees from my service and stuff don't really allow that. So I'm bolstering that with cycling and a bit of kayaking, more so in the summer. So, for example, I'm a bit short at the minute because I was sick over Christmas with pneumonia, so I had a couple of weeks off. So I'm a bit behind on the miles, but like last night I went for a spin class, so clocked up 8 miles, and probably harder than on the road in some respects because you get no free miles. So I do it like that. So mainly hiking and cycling is what I'm trying to clock the miles up with.
You doing all of these bits alone, or is there other individuals and people join you on certain parts of these?
Yeah, I'm doing it kind of alone because nobody's as crazy as me quite yet. But I am also at the end of the challenge, at the end of the 5,200 miles, I'm finishing it at the foot of Everest. And it was my plan just to do it on my own. But this year, as I'm saying, it's connection. I'm got a team of 6 amazing women who are joining me. I asked them to come along. I'm organising the trip. So we're using local Sherpas and local companies. And with that comes along, I'm also taking them out training. They're doing, obviously they've got to do a lot themselves, but most of them are local to Merseyside. So we try and meet up once a month minimum and get out hiking. So our first major one was Saturday just gone, and we went up to Snowdonia. We didn't do Snowdon. We went up out the back into some valleys, and it was an absolute perfect day for hiking on Saturday. We had this window of it wasn't too cold. It was just about touching minus, and there was actually sun in the sky, which is unusual for Wales. And it couldn't have been any more perfect. And it's good to get out there and share. As you're walking for 8 hours, you're talking a lot, aren't you, and sharing your stories. And so it's definitely a bit of a different challenge for me because I'm trying to involve others. Anyone can come, and if they're bored, come along, and I'll go for a hike with them.
So to that end, then, where if people are interested in maybe join you or reaching out or even fundraising, donating to your charities or the charities that you're supporting, where might they be able to get in touch?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, I'm Gina Atkinson. So if you can DM me there. I've bit crazy on the other social medias. So I think TikTok, Gina Atkinson, which is I just post videos of where I'm walking. I don't really talk that much on it. And Gina Ginelli on Facebook, which is
a long story, probably.
Which is a nickname from my skiing days. Yeah. So and or also my fundraising page, which is actually Gina Allsop at 5,200 miles. So yeah, awesome. There's a few places, but yeah, if you reach out, I'm often walking, hiking or kayaking, and always happy to do joining in someone's challenge. I'm hopefully cycling with a lady who is an Army Cadet instructor. We're going to do Liverpool to Leeds along the canal in the summer, so that'll be nice. I think we've got a few people coming, so that'll be a nice little challenge. Clock me 100 odd miles on there. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
What was one thing that you would like to mention to the world, or if there's one thing that you'd like for this podcast to talk about or repeat again that you would potentially offer to listeners?
I think going along the mental health sort of side of things, everyone at some point in their life will suffer from poor mental health. We're not saying that everyone's going to be in this, drastic zone, but everyone's going to have ups and downs. There's a lot of anxiety today built up by different stresses, with social media and people thinking they have to achieve more than what they do. Things on social media aren't always real, and it's just to know you're not alone. There's always someone you can reach out, even if you find me and you DM me. I'm happy to talk, speak to anyone. I'm happy to talk and signpost people in the right direction. But know that you're not alone, and if you're feeling low, get out and connect with nature as well as connecting with people. So probably that's my message, is in this world where we can be isolated, working from home and not interacting as much, then get out there, make connection, and know that you aren't alone. There's so many different charities out there that can help you connect.
Yeah, love it. Well, Gina, thanks so much for taking some time out today to speak to us. Thanks for talking about the charities that you're working with, which I think is Veterans Can, isn't it? The one that you're working for.
I think Veterans Can's more of a community, which is great. So it's a connection type thing. So the charities that I'm fundraising for is SAFA, the Armed Forces charity, because they really helped me, and they're sort of a Swiss Army knife for the military. So they can do anything from helping someone adopt to buying them a microwave, because they need that. And then the next one's Buddies Lodge, which is a veterans and emergency services charity, which is mainly in Wales. It's the biggest veterans charity in Wales, and they're really local and do quite. You can see the impact that your money's directly going to. And the third one is Act UK, which, because I'm an Army Cadet instructor, I like to keep a little bit in the green, not too much. I'm the events training instructor, so I'm not in uniform too much. And that charity gives teenagers the opportunity, no matter what their background is, to go on life-changing experiences and expeditions, and gives them bursaries and gives them equipment, and that's vital. That's absolutely life-changing. I've seen it happen with my cadets. So it's two sort of veterans charities and a youth charity, which is I'm quite passionate about both sort of organisations. So so hopefully I can raise as much money as I can. I'm aiming for 3,000, but if I get a lot more, then that'd be fantastic. But my main message is, to highlight those charities and what their services bring for people. And you might not have heard of them, and they might be able to help somebody or a friend that you know.
Awesome. Well, yeah, once again, Gina, thanks very much. Thanks for the important work you're doing there to help fund these charities, and using that tragic loss of your brother to help others, and also as a way of processing what you're going through as well, by connecting with others and helping bring people together. So thanks very much for your time. It's been great to speak to you.
Yeah, fantastic to be on, and I look forward to hearing more of your amazing guests that you have on. So it's a privilege to have a chat and get on and share my message.
Cheers, Gina. Thanks.
Bye.